Hi, the real-time strategy genre is currently going through a tough time. RTS games peaked in popularity in the 1990s and early 2000s, then gradually their popularity began to decline. However, nevertheless, occasionally good strategies continue to be released, and over the years, a sufficient number of quality projects have still accumulated. In this video, I will talk about the best real-time strategies that have been released from 2010 to 2020. I'll start with Total War: Three Kingdoms. It's a grand historical strategy that transports players to the 2nd century AD to the period of the Three Kingdoms in ancient China. The gameplay will be divided into two modes: classical and romanticized. You'll make this choice before starting the campaign. The classical mode is realistic and focuses on historically accurate troop maneuvers, with victory depending on tactical decisions and army composition. The romanticized mode, on the other hand, is definitely more interesting and fresh. Here, we lead into battle semi-mythical heroes with supernatural powers, capable of killing dozens of enemies with a single blow. Battles take place in real time on separate maps, while on the global map, the player engages in recruiting and moving troops, researching new technologies, capturing provinces, developing cities, and building the economy. They are Billions, a post-apocalyptic steampunk real-time strategy, where players must defend a human colony from hordes of zombies and reclaim infected territories to expand their empire. Players need to manage resources and battle zombie armies while also protecting and fortifying their base. However, it's not so simple, as the number of zombies will significantly outnumber your soldiers. The challenge lies in the difficulty of the game. If even one zombie enters your settlement, within a few seconds, half of the population will be infected, and you'll have to start the mission anew. Total War: Rome 2. This is another strategy from Creative Assembly. In many aspects, the game resembles Shogun 2. The main events focus on the heyday of Rome and Hellenistic cultures of antiquity. The primary period is the 3rd century BC. The campaign includes nearly 120 factions divided into 5 cultures: Barbarian, Greek, Roman, Carthaginian, and Eastern. Visually, the battles here still look impressive. The game features a wide variety of military units, with each unit being distinct. Another interesting element of the second installment is naval battles, which look impressive. There is also internal faction politics, which complicates matters if not managed properly. Diplomacy is present, which can facilitate gameplay, and there's an element of city building in captured cities. StarCraft 2. Fans awaited the second part for a whole 12 years, and their hopes were fulfilled. The game provided a new twist to the confrontation of the 3 main races in space: Terrans, Zerg, and Protoss. Terrans rely on their firepower with flamethrowers, tanks, and heavy cruisers. Zergs are a highly evolved swarm, where each member of the hive is merely a tool for solving a specific task set before the main brain. Protoss are an ancient race standing on the brink of psionic ascension but still resolving their internal conflicts. The game's foundation lies in a very interesting storyline, which remains engaging from mission to mission. The missions themselves are extremely diverse, with numerous side tasks and non-trivial solutions. Crusader Kings 2. A global historical RTS released in 2012. The developers approached the creation of this medieval simulator with the utmost seriousness. Thus, feudal intrigues in medieval Europe found fans worldwide. The action takes place in 1066, with the main character being an aristocrat who can be either a king of one of the states or simply a duke who has yet to come to power. But kings do not rule forever, so the hero will eventually die, leaving an heir who will become the next ruler in your dynasty, unless, of course, there are other contenders for the throne. Primarily, this game is about politics rather than war. Even declaring war on a neighbor without a formal reason is impossible here, and you'll have to try hard to justify your claims to foreign territories. Halo Wars 2, a dynamic RTS set in the famous universe, featuring base building, resource gathering, and enemy base destruction. The graphics in the game are top-notch, with stunning animations, detailing, and effects from explosions and various energy weapons. There's a plethora of units to choose from, ranging from small soldiers to huge walking robots. What's particularly appealing is the game's insane pace throughout short but intense story missions and aggressive multiplayer battles. In the time usually spent in other RTS games on establishing the first buildings, in Halo Wars 2, you'll either start dominating the map by leading your squads into battle or defending against the first massive enemy attacks. The only drawback might be the simplification of gameplay, such as preset building locations. Company of Heroes 2, one of the best RTS games about World War II. Here, you control various troops, including infantry, tanks, artillery, and more. One of the key features of the game is the weather system, which affects the tactics and strategy of your battle. Cover mechanics also play an important role, providing protection from enemy attacks and strategic opportunities for your movement. The AI here is well-crafted, providing intense and engaging battles. Enemies can adapt to your actions. The game engine recreates battles with frightening realism. Technically, the game is nearly flawless and can still impress even today. Northgard, an RTS with elements of city-building simulation based on Norse mythology. Here, you'll manage a Viking clan vying for control over a mysterious new continent. You'll face obstacles from other players, with whom you'll need to trade and establish relationships, as well as NPCs like wild animals, skeletons, zombies, and other representatives of the local fauna. But first, you'll need to build your settlement, survive several winters and enemy attacks. Essentially, it's a classic economic and military strategy where players need to develop the village, gather resources, build defensive structures, scout, and conquer new lands. Stellaris, a global real-time strategy where players take control of one of the civilizations newly emerged in space and by any means make it dominant in the galaxy. Usually, games offer a limited set of races, but here, thanks to the constructor, hundreds can be created. Players will have to solve all the tasks that can face a ruler, providing food for subjects, space exploration, building and expanding their state, conducting military and diplomatic interactions with other interstellar empires, and much more. Playing, you can choose very different approaches in methods of trade and diplomacy. This is where the game's emphasis lies, as balancing such a number of factions is difficult. Therefore, galactic powers strive for superiority mainly through the development of the economy, political relations, and science. Planetary Annihilation, Titans, an RTS about global battles between factions. The outcome of the battle here will be decided by the player's strategic talents, and the name perfectly conveys the essence. Players will have to destroy entire planets. Like in most RTS games, here you need to create a strong army and destroy the enemy as soon as possible, only instead of flat maps. This game offers entire solar systems. It all starts on the ground with a single commander. He can build structures, repair, and fight, but if he dies, the battle will be lost. So, the leader must be protected, and it's impossible to do without a base and hordes of auxiliary combat units. The scales grow continuously. It all starts with small robots and tanks, and after a while, truly advanced technologies become available, allowing you to destroy entire planets. Iron Harvest. The events of this game unfold in an alternative universe in 1920, where World War I is fought with the help of robots. Players can expect multiple sides of the conflict, unique units, and real-time battles between armies of combat robots. Developers have prepared 3 storyline campaigns for each of the sides, each with its own types of robots, as well as its goals and ambitions. The main feature of the game is the huge, clumsy yet deadly robots, with which players can shoot enemies and demolish any buildings into rubble. The action will mainly take place in rural areas, providing ample space for maneuvering. Dawn of War 3, the third installment of the famous RTS series. Developers combined popular mechanics from previous installments, reintroduced base building, increased the scope of battles, and brought together 3 factions on one planet. Each of the 3 factions in the game has its own characteristics and gameplay mechanics. The Imperium relies on powerful machinery and armor, Orcs on quantity and devastating attacks, and Eldar on stealth and elite fighters. The game also offers a multiplayer mode where players can battle each other or team up, showcasing their tactical skills. Some players complain about the absence of some of their favorite elements from previous games in the series and the simplification of certain mechanics. However, for series fans and RTS enthusiasts, this won't be a problem. Grey Goo. This game became another attempt by developers to remind everyone of the golden days of the RTS genre. But for most, this game remained virtually unnoticed, which is a shame because it's a very good strategy. In its idea, Grey Goo resembles a blend of concepts from Command and Conquer and StarCraft. The game combines decade-old traditions and technologies of the best strategies of the old generation. The game has an unusual interface reminiscent of MOBA games. All 3 factions have their strengths and weaknesses. Humans are mobile and can teleport, betas have high defense, and the goo must absorb enemy units to create its own. You will explore these faction features as you progress through the campaign. Ancestors' Legacy. This is a modern variation of medieval strategy for those longing for Stronghold and Age of Empires. Here you'll find familiar villages with houses, sawmills, taxes, and men with swords. And if all of this plays like a greeting from the past, then the game looks simply superb. Here you can lead one of 4 playable factions. Your task will be not only to raid enemy camps, but also to ensure thoughtful tactical superiority using mechanics of cover, experience, and morale. The game combines classic resource management and base-building mechanics with large-scale real-time battles based on squad management. The visual quality of battles is provided by the Unreal Engine 4. Cossacks 3. This is a classic RTS with impressive features and beautiful graphics. The action takes place in the 17th century, during numerous military conflicts in Europe. Developers expanded the list of gameplay mechanics, improved the network component, added realistic physics, and reworked the artificial intelligence, but at its core, the game remains the same, bringing players back to the golden age of strategies. At the start, 12 factions will be available, each with its own unique buildings that can be used throughout the 5 storyline campaigns. Over time, the number of playable countries will expand to 20. One of the main features is the massive battles, where thousands of units can participate simultaneously. This creates a sense of epic warfare and requires players to think strategically and manage a large number of troops. Up to 7 players can fit on one map, allowing you to make peace and gang up on the weak alliance of the remaining 2 states. Ashes of the Singularity. This strategy game is sure to please fans of the sci-fi setting. The gameplay strongly resembles Supreme Commander, which developers were clearly inspired by. Therefore, one of the key elements of the game is its grand scale. Players participate in large-scale battles on a planetary level, where control over resources and management of huge armies determine the outcome of the battle. The gameplay is based on the struggle for control over resources and technological superiority. Players can develop their base, research new technologies, and create powerful military units to dominate the battlefield. The game features various factions with unique gameplay styles and units. Each faction has its strengths and weaknesses, requiring players to adapt their strategies depending on the situation. War Selection. This is a conditionally free, multiplayer RTS from independent developers. The game clearly took an example from the Age of Empires series. Here you'll find everything that fans of these cult RTS games are used to: base building, army training, advancing through ages, and most importantly, the ability to clash modern tanks with archers or musketeers. The game allows players to battle on huge maps with up to 62 players simultaneously. This creates epic battles with numerous participants and large-scale military operations. The game also offers a variety of factions corresponding to different historical epochs and cultures. Armada 2, a real-time space strategy game that emerged as a digital adaptation of the popular tabletop game. Here you'll encounter familiar factions with which you'll have to deal throughout 3 massive campaigns. Additionally, for multiplayer enthusiasts, developers offer an enhanced multiplayer mode. Gameplay-wise, the game corresponds to similar representatives of the genre. Players will command fleets of spacecraft in massive battles in open space. Each ship has its unique characteristics, weapons, and capabilities. Players can customize their fleets by choosing from various types of ships, weapons, and modules, allowing them to adapt their forces to different situations on the battlefield. Ultimate General is a military strategy game that allows players to take part in the American Civil War. The outcome of the campaign directly depends on the player and their results. So, players have the opportunity to either replay history or attempt to change it. One aspect worthy of particular attention is the unit management system. Players can give their troops a unified task or focus on individual soldiers. The game offers a variety of unit types, including infantry, cavalry, artillery, and more. Each type has its strengths and weaknesses, as well as specific roles on the battlefield. In addition to single-player campaigns and scenarios, the game also offers multiplayer battles, allowing players to fight against each other in PvP mode. This adds another layer of depth and replayability to the game, as players can test their strategies and skills against real opponents. Which RTS games from the last 10 years did you enjoy the most? Write it down in the comments. Image Game Channel has been with you. Have a nice day.